You ever watch the pros play and just wonder, how do they make it look so easy? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and unlock the real secret to effortless power in tennis. We're going to bust some of the biggest myths that are probably holding your forehand hostage and give you a super simple framework to completely transform your game. So let's start with something every single player knows all too well, what I like to call the power paradox. You know the feeling, right? You get that perfect, juicy sitter right in your strike zone, you decide you're going to absolutely crush it, and poof, it either sails 10 feet long or gets dumped right into the net. Meanwhile, your opponent is hitting these absolute bombs with what looks like half the effort. So what's their secret? What do they know that you don't? All right, the very first step to unlocking that secret is to completely demolish a huge myth that is, I guarantee you, sabotaging your game right now. And that's this idea that power is all about pure brute force. We've all been there. We've all done it. The thinking is so simple. If I want to hit harder, I've just got to swing my arm faster and stronger. But like we just talked about, trying to muscle the ball, or arm the ball as they say, almost always leads to the exact opposite of what you want. You get less power, way less control, and honestly, just a whole lot of frustration. So here's the big reveal, and this is crucial. Real, sustainable power doesn't even start in your arm. Nope, it starts from the ground up. In biomechanics, this is called the kinetic chain. I want you to think of it like a wave of energy, okay? It starts when you push off the court with your legs, it travels up through your hips as they rotate, into your torso, and then, finally, it's unleashed through your arm and into the racket. See? Your arm is just the final link in a much, much more powerful chain. Now, my favorite way to feel this is what's called the rubber band effect. It's the perfect visual. When you're prepping for a forehand, you're not just taking the racket back. No, you're coiling your entire upper body. You're stretching those core muscles just like a rubber band. And that forward swing, that's the release. That's the snap. It's an explosive uncoiling that just catapults the racket forward. And this, right here, is the massive shift in mindset you need to have. Once you master this kinetic chain, your forehand literally transforms from this kind of clunky, disconnected arm swing into a powerful, fully integrated body shot. Your arm, it's just along for the ride. Okay, so let's move on to our next myth. And this one might be even more counterintuitive for a lot of you. This is all about control. See, most of us believe that to control the ball, we need to get tight, we need to be precise, but in reality, that very tension is the thing that's absolutely killing your consistency. Just take a look at this comparison. When you're choking the racket with a white-knuckle death grip, you're completely locking up your wrist. And that just murders your racket head speed, because the racket has no freedom to accelerate naturally. But a relaxed grip, that lets your wrist move freely, letting you generate that effortless speed and, this is key, the spin that actually gives you control of the ball. So how relaxed are we talking here? This is probably the best visual cue I have ever heard. Your grip pressure should feel like you're holding a tiny baby duckling, right? It's got to be firm enough so you don't drop it, but gentle enough that you don't crush the poor thing. It's not about being limp, it's about being sensitive and letting the racket feel like an extension of your hand, not some club you're trying to wrestle into submission. And this same exact principle applies to your wrist. A locked, stiff wrist forces you to kind of push or guide the ball over the net. It might feel controlled, but it really isn't. A relaxed, neutral wrist, on the other hand, lets the racket just flow through the hitting zone, creating this incredible whip-like effect that generates massive pace with almost no muscular effort. And when you get this state of relaxation right, in both your grip and your wrist, you unlock the secret weapon of the pros: lag and snap. As you start that forward swing, a relaxed wrist lets the racket head just momentarily drop, or lag, behind your hand. Then from that lagged position, the racket just explodes forward and snaps through the ball like a catapult. That, my friends, is where truly effortless racket head speed comes from. Okay, so we've worked on the mechanics of power and control, but that brings us to maybe the biggest strategic myth of all, one that holds back nearly every amateur player. And that is the idea that you have to constantly be going for winners. Let me ask you a quick question. What percentage of total points do you think the greatest players to ever pick up a racket, I'm talking Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, what percentage do you think they actually win over a whole season? The answer is probably going to shock you. It's only 54 to 55%. Seriously, let that sink in.
The best to ever do it are barely winning more than half the points they play. That tells you something incredibly profound about what tennis really is. It's not a highlight reel game about hitting spectacular, untouchable winners. It's a game of consistency. It's about forcing your opponent into errors. The margins are absolutely razor thin.
And this is exactly why the pros play with what sports psychologists call controlled aggression. They are not just out there wailing on every single ball hoping one of them goes in for a winner. No way. They are hitting with purpose. They're aggressive enough to dictate the point, to keep their opponent on defense, but they're playing within themselves, choosing high percentage shots they know they can make over and over again. And your number one tool to do this? It's depth. Forget about hitting flat, hard bullets that land near the service line. A deep, heavy ball is your absolute best weapon. Why? Because it pushes your opponent back, it robs them of angles, it takes away their power, it gives you more time, and it almost always forces them to give you a weaker ball that you can attack. Trust me, depth wins matches.
So, how do we tie all these pieces together? Let's put everything we've talked about into one simple, actionable checklist that you can take straight to the court.
Here it is, your 4-point checklist for an effortless, powerful forehand. Number 1, relax your grip and your wrist. Remember that baby duckling. Number 2, use your body first. Start that swing from the ground up and feel that rubber band coil and uncoil. Number 3, trust spin to give you control. A smooth, fast swing will naturally create the top spin you need to keep the ball in play. And finally, number 4, change your target. Aim for deep, heavy balls that wear your opponent down, not flashy winners that you're going to miss half the time. So the next time you step on the court, I want you to try a little experiment. Just for a few minutes, stop trying to hit the ball hard. Instead, I want you to focus on hitting it smooth. Focus on being efficient. Trust the physics of a relaxed swing and let your body do the work. Because the power you've been desperately searching for, you're not going to find it in more effort. You're going to find it in letting go.